years ago, in 1916, a woman named Mary Lois Ford and her 5-year-old daughter Mary Ellen Ford lived in the small town of Pilot Knob. The mother and daughter were accused of witchcraft, and the locals were too scared to wait for a trial to be held over them. Instead, they burned both mother and daughter at the stake. The mother's body was buried somewhere outside of town, but they were afraid the little girl, the witch, would come back from the dead in search of her mother. So, the frightened townspeople buried the girl's body right there in Pilot Knob, in a strong steel coffin. After lowering the coffin into the grave, they filled it with concrete. Then they put gravel on top and built a metal fence around the burial site. The fence was made of interwoven white crosses, which the townspeople believed would trap the little witch's ghost inside. According to legend, the ghost of the little witch wanders back and forth behind the fence. They say she is still looking for her mother, who was buried in a different place, but she cannot get out past the fence. Some people have even seen small child's footprints in the gravel above her grave. Locals believe that if you visit the little witch's grave alone and get too close, her hand will reach out of the grave, grab you, and pull you into the concrete. Those who have seen her claim she wears a white dress that is burned at the bottom, and her long hair is singed at the ends. People who live in the area advise visitors not to approach the grave. "I never go there," said one local, "and nobody else does either. A lot of strange things happen there." Others will also tell you that you need to turn around and not set foot in that cemetery. My grandmother told me this story. Back then, she was young, worked on a collective farm, and lived in a dormitory with other girls. She had a friend named Nastana, and Nastana absolutely loved flowers. One day, after work, the girls were walking past a cemetery, and Nastana saw a fresh grave with lots and lots of flowers on it. That day, some woman had been buried there. Nastana didn't think twice. She took the flowers. She didn't listen to anyone. She brought the flowers to the dormitory and put them in a beautiful vase next to her bed. They went to sleep early because they had work in the morning, but they didn't sleep for long. In the middle of the night, Nastana jumped out of bed and started screaming and crying. Then she told them that she had a terrible dream. In her dream, the woman who had been buried that day appeared to her and said, "If you don't return my flowers to the grave by 12 o'clock, I will take you with me." Everyone, of course, was scared out of their wits. They looked at the clock. It was 11:45. Only 15 minutes left. They decided to all go to the cemetery together. They couldn't abandon their friend in trouble. They quickly got ready, all in tears and snot, and ran to the cemetery. Unfortunately, the cemetery was 5 kilometers away from the dormitory. But still, the girls ran with all their might. At one point, Nastana's legs gave way, and she dropped dead. Her friends looked at the clock, 12:01. Nastana lay there pale with dark circles under her eyes. 10 years ago, 4 friends lived in a small village. They were always together. The guys were calm and never caused any trouble. On the other side of the village, there was an old abandoned house. The guys decided to go there in the evening. They took beer and music. They agreed not to tell their parents about their new spot. They settled in and lit some candles. The house had some old things inside, mirrors, a couch, and some other small items. They drank a little and started telling scary stories. Suddenly, all the candles went out at once. After a moment of of silence, one of the guys took some matches and tried to light a candle near the mirror. Once, twice, nothing happened. It was as if someone was blowing on the flame. Finally, he managed to light one candle. He picked up the candle and started moving it around the room, looking at everything. And then he suddenly froze in front of the mirror. He saw his own reflection. But what was behind him filled him with horror. He saw a dark figure with red eyes staring at him and laughing wildly. If you could even call it laughter. He spun around quickly and saw his friends sitting against the wall, pressed against each other. A second later, the laughter grew louder, and it felt like one voice was no longer enough. It sounded like many. The guys panicked and started jumping out of the window into the street. After running a considerable distance, they stopped, but there were only 3 of them. Of course, no one wanted to go back. They stood for a while, waiting to see if their friend would catch up, but no one came. In the morning, when they met up, they spent a long time debating whether to go back to that house and see what had really happened. Before heading out, they went to that guy's home. Maybe he had run home last night, but his mother, confused, said he'd never come back. If you're not together, then where is he? The guys promised they would find him and decided to check the house. They went inside. On the 2nd floor, they found their friend. He was dead. His hair had turned gray. He had no eyes, no tongue. The skin between his fingers was torn on both his hands and his feet. Of course, an investigation began. The guys were interrogated, but no one said a word about what they had seen. A couple of months passed. One of the guys simply disappeared while walking home one evening. His mother said that during the day he had acted like he was saying goodbye to her, told her he loved her, apologized for everything. The 3rd guy died in front of his parents while doing farm work. He fell onto a rake. Oh, and the 4th one? He's still alive. He works in the same village, in a small chapel. He helps the priest, and as he himself says, he still hears that laughter. What saves him, he says, are his prayers. On his body, he has many tattoos, crosses, and icons. One time, on another sleepy night, I was standing by the window smoking. My windows face the road. The area is open, so the noise and commotion are pretty normal for me. But what happened that night still haunts me. I'm standing by the window, smoking, lights are off, lost in thought. And suddenly I see some strange silhouette near a tree, dark, like a shadow. Well, I think, maybe it's just the lighting. Anything can happen. I finished my cigarette, sat down by the window, watching TV, drinking tea. And suddenly I noticed that the tree is swaying, just that one tree. But outside it's windless, warm, summertime. Finally I decide to get up and see what could be causing the tree to sway for no reason, as if there's a hurricane outside. When I stood up and looked at the trunk of the tree, I saw a huge gaunt figure, about 2 or 3 meters tall. I see the tree shaking, as if something is trying to pull something out of it. I stand there watching it, and it keeps shaking. I start shaking myself from such terror. Suddenly, it turns around and starts looking directly into my eyes. I maybe couldn't see exactly where it was looking, but I felt it boring right through me with its gaze. I froze, and I noticed that it starts moving toward